Good morning students, myself Ajit Pratap Singh. Today in video number 27, I will tell you about types of motion. Okay students? As you know students, objects move in various ways. We can classify motion into certain types. So the first type of motion is translatory motion. Students, when an object moves in a straight or in a curved path, then this kind of motion is called translatory motion. Okay, for example, a car or an aeroplane moves as a whole. As you know, all their parts move through the same distance in the same interval of time. This type of motion is called translatory motion. Most of the moving objects you can see around you move in this way. Some other examples I will also tell you. A car can move in a straight line, and a car can also move along a curved path. In both cases, it has translatory motion. Okay. So students, translatory motion will be available in both the cases, whether the car is moving on a straight road or whether a car moving on a curved path. There are two kinds of translatory motion. So next slide. So before this, I will show you the example. As you can see that one apple is falling from a tree. So this is also an example of translatory motion. Another example, a bullet is coming from a gun. That is also an example of linear or translatory motion. Okay. And another example, you can see that when you tied a ball into a string and you move it circular, then it is also a curvilinear motion or translatory motion, because curvilinear motion is a type of translatory motion. Okay students, now the next slide. I told you about how we can classify translatory motion. We can classify translatory motion into two types: linear or rectilinear motion, and circular and or curvilinear motion. Okay, so first one is linear or rectilinear motion. When an object moves in a straight line, then this type of motion is called rectilinear motion. Okay, for example, a car moving on a straight road, an apple falling from a tree, or a bullet shot from a gun. So these all are the example of rectilinear motion. Rectilinear means straight. Okay, when any object moves in a straight line, then it is said to be in rectilinear motion or linear motion. Now second one is circular or curvilinear motion. As the name suggests, when any object moves in a circular path or on a curved path. For example, a car moving on a curved road, a ball tied to a string and wheeled around, it is said to be in circular or curvilinear motion. Okay students, next slide is of rotational motion. As the name suggests students, that when any motion rotates after an interval of time, then this type of motion is called rotational motion. What happens when you spin a top? It moves round and round. Do the different parts of the top move through the same distance in the same time? No. The outer portions of the top move through a greater distance. Means the outer portions cover the greater distance than the inner portions of the top. Notice that the top moves around a line passing through its center, as shown in the figure. I will just show you. Such a motion of an object where the object moves around an axis and its different parts move through different distances in a given time. It is called rotational motion. The motion of the blades of a fan. So these are also examples of rotational motion. The wheel of a swing machine or a giant wheel are all examples of rotational motion. The earth rotates about its axis. This is also an example of rotational motion. So these are the picture of different examples of rotational motion in which you can see a top rotates its motion, okay, on its axis. Similarly, the blades of the fan perform the same kind of motion as well. Apart from this, the earth also rotates its motion on its axis. So these are all examples of rotational motion. Okay, students? So now, students, I hope that you will be able to tell about types of motion very easily, especially translatory motion, the types of translatory motion, the examples of translatory motion, rotational motion, the examples of rotational motion as well.